What's up, guys? This is Sunny. Making here a video lesson. This is all paper trading, but I've been improving a little bit today on my entries, making sure it's under VWAP. My first trade was ticker symbol DM. Excuse me. DM. Here's this information here. It has a high outstanding compared to its float. That's about a 11 million float difference or share difference between the float and the outstanding. Its offering ability is high, its supply is high, and they're in need of cash, so the overall high risk is high, and the historical is low. So looking here, I was just watching the stock, and as market was about to open, I was trying to figure out where would they be dumping. Wolf explained to me that I need a. He would rather have a, a stock dump and know where they're gonna dump compared to a stock who doesn't have any dilution and any manipulation and doesn't know where they're gonna dump. So, what does that mean? He'd rather have like warrants at a certain price or an offering at a certain price that's like above, like let's say a stock is at $2 and he knows that they have warrants at $4. So in order for them to dump at $4, they're at $2 now. They have to get to $4. It's better to know where they're gonna dump than not to know, which sounds pretty obvious, like duh. But there's other stocks where you won't know where they're gonna dump, but they look all nice and pretty, but you don't know where they're gonna dump. So many times you'll see they have a credit line. Um, they have credit lines. They have shelves like this right here. You see, this is registered. Here's a shelf right here. Um, a quarter billion dollars. Um, and it doesn't say where they're gonna dump it. So they just can dump whenever they want. It's an ATM. And here's an ATM. I mean, here's an ATM of $75 million. Don't know where they're gonna dump, and that's the difference. And then when you look here, they have their outstanding shares. They have a big difference between the float and the outstanding that they can possibly dump, and it doesn't say what price. So I've been learning that, and I looked at this stock right here, and around this time where it wasn't before this panic right here or this pullback right here, I was looking. I'm like, it's at 445 to $4 to 445. So I was looking to see, okay, where are they gonna dump? Now this is not registered here. They have these outstanding shares sitting. This is not registered. But they have a ATM which they can dump whenever they want, wherever they want. Same here. So I knew, like, coming into this trade, I'm not gonna know where they're gonna dump. So I'm gonna look to just focus on my strategy, focus on my entries, and get in and get out. Now, as of lately, the market's been doing pretty shitty. The stocks have just been on a downtrend. There hasn't been no gap and crap reversals that have been great. So therefore, I was like, let me play it safe. Let me aim for, instead of aiming for that 5 to 10% gain that I normally go for, I'm aiming for 2.5 to 5%. So out of what dollar amount is that? I'm going trading with 5K, so I'm looking for $250 to $500 gain. So when market opens, or prior to market open, it just started fading. I knew in my head that was like, I typically wait for around 9:45 to get into my trade after it's already done its pullback, but it did it early during pre-market. So I knew, okay, once market opens, It may have a pullback even more, or it might just start bouncing. So once market open, I gave it a few minutes, or not even a few minutes. I gave it like 5 seconds actually, and it didn't look like it was gonna dump because normally when the market orders come in, they come in and they flood it in the first few seconds. So I seen 5 seconds, a few seconds, it wasn't doing anything. As you see here, um, it says 5 seconds here. First few seconds, I didn't see any dumping. I immediately got in. Right when I got in, the next minute, it perked up, and it just kept going up, and I was up almost $300. I was up um, my 2.5%, $250, and I got out. Um, I could have tested VWAP, which is where most people are going to be selling under, coming from under VWAP. People who are up at the top probably trying to lessen their losses here. Who knows? I could have saw that the first target goal, but I was like, I'm not gonna wait for that to see if it will break it and go through that process of them fighting in this area. As you can see here, it got here and it pulled back because they were fighting in that area. It perked up here, pulled back because they were fighting in that area, and got above. And it's just real choppy all around this VWAP area. I didn't want to wait for that because my next target goal was going to be market open, which is right here, but I already surpassed that. So it was like market open, VWAP, and high day and pre-market high. I'm not gonna wait for that. I already passed 2 target goals, and um, VWAP is not something I want to sit here and wait for, especially in this kind of market. So I just took the losses. I mean, not the losses, but I took the gains and got out. I made $298. Um, um, Sold at the top of this candlestick, which is pretty good. And it just kept going. It pulled back, but it kept going even higher. When I was watching it here, I was like, I missed my opportunity. But that's okay. I'm fine with that. Now it's like consolidating around VWAP. I honestly think, even with this poor market, I think it could go. I would love to see it keep going, but that might not be the case. I'm not gonna stick around and wait. I think this is a massive improvement from my previous trades, my 2 blowups in 1 month, losing 50 grand. Um, I think this is a massive improvement. So um, just got to keep working on it. I was very tempted to get in under VWAP, but I was disciplined not to. Um, what changed? I don't know, but this is what I'm working with now. This is the next stock I traded, ticker symbol POAI. Um, uh, Basically, it's the same situation. Um, Looking at pre-market, uh, looking at what's going on. I knew that, okay, before market open, it was at VWAP. I don't want to trade at VWAP. I want to trade under VWAP. So I went and looked. They have like the difference between the float and outstanding isn't much, probably less than a 250,000 shares. If you do the math, that's 11. Yeah, less than a 250,000. That's about 0.12, about 120,000 shares difference. So that's not enough for them to dump here. They have a low offering ability, but they have a medium overhead supply of 20 to 50% of whatever. Their historical is high. They need cash, and the risk is medium. So they're in debt of 2.2 million. Looking at their current price, they're in the twos, low twos. So I'm looking for any signs of possible dilution. So right here, they have a registered warrant at $1.07. So it is active. So it expires on in 2029. So I know they're going to be dumping this right here. Then they have another one right here. They're going to be dumping that. It expires in 2026. They're at $1 for their exercise price. This is $40, so I'm not going to even consider that. $40, I'm not going to consider that, but it's possible that they could have altered it and it just hasn't been updated. Like they could have put out if they do a split, their warrants and everything gets splitted too. So let's look here as well because I forgot to do that during the trade. No splits within that time frame. So therefore, they're $40, and they probably, when did they become active? That's my question. Well, the last updated was okay. So this is the last update, but if they didn't do like a quarter a quarter, the quarter I forgot what it's called, but their quarterly filings, they might not know um, if the dollar amount for their offering or their warrants have been adjusted. So you never really know because not if they do a split and they haven't like they didn't a quarterly report, then I forgot the proper name for it. Then you wouldn't really know. And then on top of that, um, they can adjust their warrants whenever like so they can adjust their warrant price other through other means. So you're never 100% sure. So don't go off of this 100%. Um, they didn't have these warrants at $16.80. So I didn't really factor that in. Same here. The $27, I didn't factor that in because the price is at $2.20. They haven't reached that point. Didn't factor this one. Didn't factor this one. Didn't factor this one. And didn't factor that. So they have a high. This is finished. They have a high offering ability, or not offering ability. They have high supply, but their ability to do it is low. Um, I didn't factor this because there's nothing remaining. Nothing remaining here. Nothing remaining. This is not even registered. Not registered. Not registered. Not registered. This is registered, but there's nothing left. This is this is registered, but nothing left. You see how much they dump, which is crazy. And they have an equity line of $9 million, so they can use that to dump. Um, and they have a shelf of this is the amount, so they can dump here, um, and you get the point though. So with me knowing that, they can overall, it's like I said, they have a medium overhead supply, which I think they have a pretty high overhead, but um, but their ability to do it is low because it's low, but I think it's their ability to do is pretty high. So I waited till market opened, and I wanted a pullback, and it gave me that. It pulled back. I gotta cancel this.
Order
Um,
cancelled.
and then still didn't want this pullback, but I was like, you know what? Let me give it a shot. So I got in, longed it, didn't work out. My stop was right at this end of this candlestick. Got out, took a loss of like I made $300, but I lost $300. So I took about $300 loss here. So I was like, you know what? As soon as I took the loss, I'm like, it pulled back and it started not even consolidating, but bottoming right here. And I was like, this is where I need to get in right here. And I was like, nah, I was a little distracted because I got a phone call for a job interview and all that. And I was just like, let me I got distracted and I missed it, and I'm like, you know what, let me just let it ride and see if I can get a better pullback. But I didn't think I was gonna get one, so I got in here. As you see right here, I got in, and it pulled back a little bit, but my risk was really this point right here. But I got in so high, I had to adjust my risk or lower my share count. So I just adjusted my risk. And at first, I put it to this lowest candle point of this candlestick right here of 183. So I put it to like 180, but I'm like, that's not reasonable. So I let it show its hand to me, show me like where will it bottom next, or where will it pull back and have a bottom next. And it did it right here. And I said, okay, this is my risk. And I put it to 178 risk. Now, this is not a good strategy. This is not a good factor to use. You don't want to trade like this, but I did it because I'm like, I put myself in a bad situation. So after that, I got in. I put my stop limit order here, and then it started perking up. I was up, I think, $100 at this point. So I made back my 300 plus an extra 100. It pulled back and it started spiking even more, going higher than this previous high, and with a straight up candlestick. And I sold into, a parabolic. I sold into a spike. That's how you want to trade. That's how Tim Tony taught me. Sell into spikes, sell into big moves. Don't wait for it to keep going higher and higher and higher, and then sell. Plus, I was already, well, not necessarily high day, but I was going into VWAP, and high day is practically right here as well. And I'm like, they're right next to each other. Those both are my target goals. I would rather it go past it, but I was rightfully I was right for selling here because as you see here, um, it goes up here, it goes even higher, but then it pulls. It just has this massive panic. I mean, I can only imagine how much of a roller coaster of emotions I would go through sitting through this spike and pull back, and then spike, pull back, and then bounce back up to here. I would have been going through a it would be unhealthy for my mental, my psychology, and my performance. So I think this was a great trade that I sold here. Some people would say I sold too early. I think I sold perfectly. Um, right now the market isn't doing well. I'm staying safe. Wolf says, sit back and push buttons, or downsize and push buttons is what he says, I think. And that's what I did. And I didn't downsize, but I got my entries right. And I made a total of $561. I think I performed pretty well today. Those are my two trades. Y'all have a beautiful day. And I got to keep improving from here.